All right, welcome to the Cattlemen. We're here with Rhett Wood of 100 Acre Wood Highland Cattle. Did I say that right, Rhett?
Yeah, the 100 Acre Wood Highlands is what we call our farm.
100,
Thanks for having me.
100 Acre Wood Highlands. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. I know we've kind of been talking here back and forth for, I don't know, a month or so. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I actually have never told you this, but my dad's like one of your biggest fans. He he loves
that's awesome.
watching your videos. He loves watching your videos, which we'll definitely get into a little bit more here. But yeah, Rich, just get us started. Kind of explain to us your background, kind of how you got into cattle, Highland cattle, and kind of what you're doing, in central Oklahoma with your herd.
Yeah. So our farm's in Blanchard, Oklahoma, and I actually live across the street from the family farm now. But we moved out to the farm when I was three, and my parents were cattle people. Raised mixed bag of whatever Angus. We had Herefords, we had Charolais. It was just beef cows. And I was pretty active in FFA, chickens, pigs, all that kind of stuff. And so kind of grew up around agriculture, but as a whole, the whole family, we kind of got out of raising any animals right about the time I went to college. So we have 100 acres, and it was basically just not being used. And I knew that at some point I wanted to have animals again. That's stuff I love doing. But I wanted to raise something that was a little bit more unique than just having, some Angus out there or whatever. So I started like in 2018, kind of thinking seriously about, hey, it'd be a lot of fun to raise some Highlands. And all my friends that live on farms, like one of my best friends is a dairy farmer. I was telling him this, and the feedback I kept on getting at that time was, why? That's dumb. What are you going to do with a Highland? I don't even think they're around here. And so it took me quite a while actually to find another farm in Oklahoma that had some Highlands. And turns out a client of mine from my work, their son had some. And so I got in touch with them, bought four unregistered Highlands, and that was right at the start of 2019. And it's kind of grown from there. Our farm name, 100 Acre Wood Highlands. Last name is Wood. We live on the 100 acres. Winnie the Pooh lives on the 100 Acre Wood. So I thought that was kind of a fun name. And, little did I know that Highlands would become very, very popular over the next 4 or 5 years. And so definitely glad that we're raising them. But, when I first started raising them, I didn't know anything about the national association. I didn't know about regional associations. I didn't know anybody anywhere else personally that raised them. And that was really kind of one of my concerns was, you know, are these animals going to be able to handle the Oklahoma heat? What am I going to do with them once I have them? Will I be able to find anybody that wants to buy the calves? Or, there was a lot of concerns in the beginning about what I was getting myself into for sure. Um, Today I'm part of the South Central board. And I think that had I known more about the associations, the regional associations, the national associations, and the resources that are out there, probably would have had a bit easier of a time getting started. But I just didn't know any of that information to begin with.
Yeah, I think I
The
think I think that's super relatable. We got involved in right around the same time you did, and had same story. Had no idea about the association or anything, and what a wonderful resource it's become. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it's something that I think a lot of people go through. They get the cattle, and then they kind of figure out, oh, like
Figure
I
out what to do next.
right, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that
remember when we
go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember when we got our first four. I just snapped some quick pictures of them on my cell phone right as they were getting out of the trailer, and I didn't pin them up, which looking back, that would have been a good idea to keep them pinned up for the first, few days to kind of get acclimated to them. But we opened the gate and the cows went out, and I didn't see them again for like 4 days. But I posted those pictures on Facebook, and everybody loved them and stuff. And so it was just it was a funny experience. Just opening the gate and thought, boy, I hope they don't get out because there they go. So
So you guys had cattle
I eventually ended up.
prior. You guys had cattle prior,
Yes.
so it was
So
hopefully all the fence was up still, and they weren't escaping.
it, they did. Escape. Yeah. The bad deal about our place in the is I would say 40% of the acreage is heavily wooded, and so the fences are great, but it's fairly common, especially during calving time, that a cow can't find it, go out to feed cows, and they're off in those woods somewhere, and it's on foot only to go look for them. So it's that's kind of one of our challenges of our place is if they're hard to find, they're probably in those trees somewhere. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, when my family raised cows, so I showed pigs and I was president of FFA and all that, but I was a little younger when my dad was raising cows. And so even today, there's things like I look back and be like, yeah, I kind of remember my dad, ear tagging, something super simple, or castrating, bull calves that I think, boy, I really didn't learn a lot of that stuff that I wish would have been helpful at the time as a young teenager that I need to know and need to be able to do now. So,
Right. Yeah.
um, and that's part of like kind of what led me to doing some YouTube videos was sort of just sharing our experience with the animals and sharing what information I've learned and could help other people with that are raising Highlands or any other kind of animal. But I when I shared those initial pictures on Facebook, I got a lot of feedback that was positive. And I know one of my main concerns was that how am I going to be able to sell these animals? And so I wanted to be able to market them somehow. So I made their own Facebook page, made a website, and as a millennial, I rebel and don't watch TV, but I do watch a lot of YouTube. So
Mm.
I found myself, watching lots of other YouTube channels that did a similar thing. They were raising goats, or they were doing gardening, or they were deer hunting, and I was watching a lot of that, especially like in 2020, and thinking, I do all this stuff, and I think I could make my own videos. So the very first video that we ever posted, I had the flu, and it was the first day that I felt well after having the flu, and I just took a digital camera outside and was like, I'm gonna go record myself talking about these cows. And so that's kind of how my YouTube channel started growing. It was it's awkward, to hold a camera up and record yourself talking in front of the cows, but it's been fun. There's been a lot of feedback that we've gotten from people who have said, hey, we're raising Highlands because we watched you and got interested in them. So that's been a really enjoyable part of doing YouTube is the the people I've got to meet because of that.
Hmm. Sure. So you got started, you got started in 2020, is that right? With the YouTube channel?
I got my first with YouTube. It would be hard to tell the exact date. It was either late 2019 or early 2020. I can't remember exactly, but I had had the animals for a little while before I made the first video. Um, you know, 2020 was obviously everybody was cooped up inside and watching TV or doing whatever, anyways. And so for me, it was like, hey, I can go outside and record some of these videos and post them. uh, you feel a little silly because I don't post a whole lot because I don't want it to be super repetitive. Like, hey, it's me. I'm feeding the cows again. I did this yesterday and the day before that. So that's been one of the challenges is at least having something that's interesting or educational. I like for my videos to have some component of education to them, but I definitely don't feel like an expert in any area of the cows. Just it's been something where it's like, here's what I have learned or what we're doing and how we're doing it. just so that we can share that experience with other people.
Yeah, I think that's huge in the Highland community because there are so many new breeders, that that have just gotten started. And I think we may not be experts in a certain area, but we share a very
Common passion.
a common passion we're very relevant to a lot of the new breeders because we're learning as they're learning. And
Hmm.
with learning comes mistakes, and we've talked about that a lot in the past. But that's how you learn. And if I can pass along to somebody a mistake that I made, I'm 100% going to do it and try to help them avoid it in the future. And
Yeah.
I think that's why people are drawn to, like, for instance, like your YouTube channel. I think they're looking to learn, like you said, and you're offering an educational resource. About how many videos do you think you've done, Rhett?
Um, I don't know off the top of my head. I could look real quick. I did look a little bit before we were talking, and I know that we've had 3 million lifetime views, which isn't a lot for a big channel, but I thought that was pretty interesting when I was looking at it just a little bit ago. But I did post a lot more regularly. Like, let's see what the analytics say. I think I've got probably somewhere between 50 and 100 videos if I had to guess.
Wow.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty close guess. I Not all of them are strictly about the cows, but most of them are. We One of the challenges has been weather related. So, like we were talking before we got started here about, going and checking calves being born or having to assist sometimes. It's difficult to record at the same time that you need to be able to do something with your hands.
Mhm.
And so that's one challenge. It's not like I've got somebody to follow me around and record it. I'm usually doing it from my phone or a GoPro. The other challenge is, especially if you watch a lot of my older videos, the audio quality can be really rough because Oklahoma is the state where the wind comes sweeping down the plains, and it kind of wreaks havoc on some of my videos.
Right.
So, it yeah.
Well,
In fact, I think my
are you using like a lapel mic or like a Bluetooth mic or anything like that?
I am now. My wife actually got me a little lapel mic that works with my phone for Christmas, and so some of my more recent videos have been doing that. But before, like the GoPro, I had the external mic on a GoPro that you could put the dead cat on that muffles some of the wind sound. But in the early days, I was literally just doing it from like a digital camera that had no extra mic. It was just using the camera mic,
Right.
which was fairly low quality. My most viewed video ever, I have my original one of my original unregistered cows we call Penny, and she's getting older now. Like, I don't know exactly her age, but I would guess she's 10 plus. In 2021, I went to check her before work. I'm like dressed up in my work clothes, and I'm just going to go check because I should be having calves this time of year, and I can't find her. And when I do find her, she's in like active labor. And so I'm just recording on my phone this super windy day. And she's fairly docile. Like, she doesn't want me to come out and brush her, but she'll let me get near her. And she gave birth, but the calf was backwards and didn't come out of the sack and only like partially came out, and she stood up and it went back in her, and I got all that recorded. And now I don't know what to do. Haven't been in this situation before, so I call my vet, and they're like, well, you need to catch her, bring her in, or you're going to have to help deliver the calf where you're at. And I'm out in the middle of the pasture, and I'm like, I don't think there's a way I could catch her very easily right now. So I actually run to the house, get my wife. She comes back out, and so she's kind of recording because I'm going to try to help deliver this calf. And I don't have the OB chains. I don't have the long gloves. I don't have anything. I'm just out there in the field, and one hoof comes out. I don't know this at the time, but it's a back hoof, and Eventually, the other one comes out. I'm able to get a little bit of a hold, and when she's pushing, I'm able to assist a little bit. Calf comes out, and I thought I was dead. I mean, it just didn't move, flopped on the ground, and I'm like, oh no, this sucks. And a good 3 seconds passes by, and it lifts up its head, and it's alive. And so it made it did great, but all that got on video, and it kind of was probably my only viral video. Had over 1 million views, and in YouTube and stuff, you can get into the analytics and see where in the world and what gender and age and all this, and it was being viewed in like different countries and all over the place. And then suddenly, like I don't know, the fifth day in, the views just came to like a stop. There was no views, and I got a notification that YouTube had flagged it and stopped it for violating community standards. And so they gave you a chance to appeal it, and I emailed back like a list their standards with a response to every one of them. It was like, I didn't use profanity. I'm not using, all this stuff. And so they put it back up, but views never really took off again on it. But it was neat because I would open my app and be like, oh man, 100,000 people just watched it, so it was a cool experience.
So there's probably just too much
But
in the
I'll tell you,
aftermath, I imagine.
yeah, I mean, it's live birth. It's
Right.
messy. The looks like it's dead. But learning experience.
Oh,
I now have OB chains and I have all that stuff, and we try to keep a close eye at calving time for that sort of scenario. When we did some AI calves, we used a moo call. You get the notification and you can be prepared. But in the beginning, I vaguely remember my dad pulling a calf one time, but I wasn't helping. I just remember it happening.
mhm.
So you definitely learn through some experiences on these things.
Right. Yeah, I can totally relate to your story, Rhett, because I grew up with Angus cattle. And I ended up going to college and starting to pursue a career, and then we got our first few head of Highland cattle. And my wife was like, "Well,
Yeah.
I grew up with cattle." I'm like, "That was like 15 years ago. Like, I don't hardly remember what shots we gave and this and that." But I can
Uh-huh.
totally relate to that because, but anyways, you're absolutely right. You learn, and hopefully that calf that you learn with, or those first couple calves that you learn with, hopefully they survive and everything goes well. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
and
way to
like we
learn.
were talking about earlier, if people are a part of these associations, you're going to get all kinds of information from people of all different experience levels. The quarterly publications that ACA puts out, or as part of the South Central, we've had at our gatherings, we've had vets speak, we've had CPAs speak on farm tax considerations. We've had we're working on getting together a farm field visit. So you just you get access to a group of people who you can learn from, and for the most part, everybody that I've met in the Highland world has been very willing to help. So it's a cool community to be a part of.
For sure. Now are you the secretary? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I'm the secretary of the South Central
Okay.
Highland Cattle Association.
So you're plugged in, you're
We
involved. You would be you'd be one of the guys to talk to if people down your way would want to, get plugged in, I'm guessing.
I could definitely at least point people in the right direction to get them started in one of the associations. We've actually got a show coming up here in Oklahoma in let's see, a little over a month. Let's see, about 6, 7 weeks from now, April the 12th, we have the South Central Route 66 Highland Classic, which will be for our association the third show that we've done. And so that's coming up here real soon. So that's something that the board's been actively working on. All the members of the board are great. I think they do amazing work getting the show ready. They hold a good banquet. So it's a good event coming up here pretty quick.
Tell us, Rhett, tell the listeners where that's going to be located, and is there a way that people can find that online?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Kellyville, Oklahoma, which is basically outskirts of Tulsa, and we're going to be using the Showman app. I don't think it's live as of today, but it should be in the next few days. I know that on our last board meeting, we were kind of buttoning up some of the last bits of information, but prior 2 years, I think we had close to 40 animals last year, people from all over the place. Interesting is that the show is held in Oklahoma, but I don't know. We may have only had like one or two exhibitors from Oklahoma. So lots of other regions, people in the show community came in and helped support it. So it's it's growing. I think we hold a good show, and excited to represent the breed in this part of the country for that.
Sure. Yeah, that says a lot if you're pulling people in from out of state for sure. I mean, 40 exhibitors. I mean, that's a good size show. So if there are listeners down that way that want to get maybe just see some cattle, might be a good stop in there. But if it's anything like some of the other shows that I've been to, and I'm sure you've been to, there's going to be a lot of breeders there that are almost always willing to talk to people, answer questions. That's such an awesome place to network. It shows like that because it seems like people from the Highland community are very just like you were saying, they're just really willing to answer questions, educate the public. So yeah, if listeners are down that way, definitely look into that for sure. Um,
Yeah, this year we're
yeah, go
excited.
ahead. Go
Last
ahead.
last year we did a junior pullout show. This year we're going to hold our own junior show, junior showmanship, and then the open show. So kind of refining some of that, and I think it'll be a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it's a pretty good size deal too. So, um, before I don't want to backtrack too much, but I wanted listeners to kind of get an idea about your YouTube videos. What are some of the topics that
Yeah.
people could expect to see and hear covered from your YouTube videos?
Yeah, so some prior ones that have been popular have been things specific to the breed, like four facts about Highland cows, or it's way out of date, not accurate anymore. But one that we did in the past was how much the Highlands cost,
Mhm.
and that had a lot of views. Although if you watch it today, you'll think, well, that's not accurate at all. So, but that was a popular one. We've done a couple of videos on mini Highlands because that's something we get asked about fairly frequently, and we don't raise minis or anything like that. But those have been popular videos, just talking about the the potential that could be a crossbreed animal or why we don't raise minis. Other popular ones are ones where I just go around and introduce the herd and the calves that have been born and just talk about animals on the farm. But usually I'll try to have a specific subject related to the cows. I've mixed in some hunting ones and some fishing ones and some ones about gardening, and nobody watches those. So, so I try to stick to the
I'll watch
cows.
them.
There we go. There we go.
No, you've got a very calm, confident demeanor about you, and I think uh, that's what it when it comes to the minis, especially. That's what made me think of it. You've got a very patient and calm demeanor about you, and I imagine kind of explaining some of those topics that are a little bit more controversial. They
Sure.
probably sound better coming from you just because of kind of your personality. And so that's
Well, it's like I don't. We get asked about minis a lot, and I think there's a perception in the general public that they're all minis.
right.
And I've had from even like people at the feed store where I get my stuff. I've had guys say, "Oh, they're minis, right?" And these are cattle people. They're from this. You're an old man. You've been raising cows for 50 years. No, they're not really mini, but they might be smaller than what you raise. And so we'll kind of talk about that. But I try to approach it in a way that's hopefully not going to step on any toes, and just explain from my point of view why we're not aiming for that. Another common one we've got is people wanting to know if we do like come visit and cuddle the cows.
Mhm.
And so, like broadcasting a video on YouTube, anybody out there can watch it. So I get a lot of people that maybe have an interest in farm life or cattle that live in the city, and they've never been around a farm animal, and they don't necessarily understand that. Well, it's still going to be 1,000+ animal that could kill you.
Yeah.
So no, we don't offer cow cuddle sessions. But and I've had a few angry comments before, like we processed a steer, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, and so I did a video on exactly what we got from the processor, what the live weight was versus the hanging weight, and how many steaks we got, how much ground beef, and I just kind of went in detail. Hey, this calf was born at this time, we slaughtered at this time, and there's how much meat we got. And I got a few hateful comments that was along the lines of, why don't you just get your beef from the grocery store like everybody else? And it's like, well, where do you think that comes from?
Right.
So that sort of stuff is fun.
Um, I
You
just
do have a little bit of a thick skin every once in a while.
right. Yeah, I just feel like you just do a great job. From the videos that I've seen of yours, I haven't watched them all. I'm not gonna pretend like I've watched them all, but from the videos that I've seen of yours, you just do a great job, Rhett. And
Well, thank
yeah,
you, thank
you
you,
just
thank you.
present it well. Kind of what I was trying to say about the minis. You just present it well in a kind way. But Rhett, we are winding down. We just got a couple minutes left.
All right.
I just wanted to thank you for being here today. I would love to do another interview with you. I think there's several things just that we've talked about that I'd like to kind of yeah, just address more specifically that are just really interesting. But one last question for you. What's something that you would a piece of advice that you would pass along to somebody that's new to the breed?
Well, my piece of advice, I think, would be, if you're new to Highlands, definitely join the associations and hopefully find yourself someone close to your area who can mentor you, be available to ask questions, particularly if you're new. We didn't really talk about this a whole lot, but we started unregistered and now are working more towards all registered herd. And so I think if I would have done a little bit of more of that, getting involved in the breed associations ahead of time, I probably would have made some decisions slightly different. But I think the resources that they provide are well worth it, and that new people should definitely get plugged into whatever association happens to be in your area, and just get involved in it. I think that it's good people, it's good information, it's worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wish I would have known that when we first got it started, that there was a regional association and a national association. So, um, excellent, excellent advice. Tell us one more time, Rhett, where listeners can find you, find your YouTube videos.
Yeah, if you YouTube 100, as in the number 100 Acre Wood Highlands, you can find us there. We got Facebook and Instagram. All those videos are linked to our website, and so definitely, feel free to watch the videos, like and subscribe, as we always say. And
Right.
yeah, this has been fun. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks again, and stay warm out there, and we'll uh,
Thank you. You too.
we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Rhett.
Sounds great. See ya.
Bye bye.